All right, I'll give you a demo.
A
Maybe.
demo.
Yeah. Well, hang on.
Never worked.
Hold on. Hold your horses, Sonny. It's not quite
Still my beating heart.
Oh dear. Okay, so we don't need that one. Right. You're going to be sick of the inspector if you aren't sick of it already. This is all the functions of Artifact hooked up to MCP.
Hey. Ooh.
And
That's
issue
nice.
is, there's a lot of them, more than I maybe thought about. But anyway, I got a plan for that. So that's all cool.
That's the age-old problem with modularity, isn't it? You end up with lots of stuff.
Yeah. A little demo for you here. Okay, this is a command that basically says I want you to call effectively a remote piece of code. So like this is the at Dreamcatcher chats module, which is installed on JSR.
Okay.
So it's obviously not it's not included in the installation.
Yeah.
And here are the server logs, which we should see it pull down the package and install it. Now I'm gonna restart the server because otherwise it'll be in the package cache.
Yeah.
So that kind of kills my.
Big reveal.
I know, right? So once the infrastructure responds, come on now, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, you stopped. And now, simply by asking for it, I can make it reappear. Turning it off, turning it on. Anytime now. There we go. Okay, so now it is running again. Although the UI hasn't updated.
That's interesting.
What?
How does that work? So this is
Well,
an external command not known to the system that asks for the server that wasn't running.
Fly.io boots the machine anytime
Right.
a request comes in.
And just says wake
But
up.
what you'll see is it usually boots in around about like anywhere from 600 milliseconds to 1.2 seconds from cold start, but it has this other option where it can also suspend it, and suspend is like I think at most 100 milliseconds to come back, and everything that it's got in its cache, like all its RAM, all its temporary storage, is all still there. And so
That's
that's
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what makes kind of good. This is the magical bit. This is like a volume. This is a gigabyte of disk. That's a real piece of an SSD. Yeah. So again, looking into the costs of these things, particularly for SSD, like as soon as we get even the slightest kind of demand, like we got to shift to some hardware.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, where are we? Yep, so we've turned this back on. It's listed out all the tools. We're back in the chat, and I'm going to tell it to execute a command that's going to call a remote package.
Okay.
Hopefully. Just make sure it bloody well works first. Did it work? Oh yeah, it is working. It's downloading all this crap from the npm registry.
Oh,
And
that's neat. That's
Obviously, we'll get some caching in place. This is a non-optimized package. Like this package is hauling in like
Yeah.
stuff, everything, because
Yeah.
I didn't have time.
But AI people are quite tolerant of delays. We're not in web page load land.
Right. So now it's run, and it created a new chat with a chat ID of that value. Then, for my next trick, this is a bit of a hocus one. Like it doesn't really work properly, but I'm going to tell it to. This is going to generate some text, so it's going to make an AI call out to OpenAI. The prompt is going to be respond with the cheeseburger emoji.
Yeah.
And the chat ID is up to the model to fill in
So it remembers the chat ID from previous. Okay.
from here, because it got back the chat ID up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, now you need to call it using the chat ID. And it should, yeah, there we go. It's done. It showed an error because of something that I'll explain. But if you notice, we see the cheeseburger. So that's an MCP call using a remote dynamically loaded npm package or JSR, basically an external code, pulled in and loaded at runtime, executed, and the result come back controlled via MCP using the artifact system functions. So I know that's not that great, but it just demonstrates
it's as monumentous as any Hello World.
Yeah, it's hello MCP. So what I was hoping to do is I am very confident that I have got the design down pat, and there's still some minor details as I go through it that I sort of stumble upon. I'm like, oh, what happens in this edge case or that edge case, blah, blah. So I'd like to go through those all with you in as high a level and not put you to sleep as I possibly can, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick question, because you're not going to put me to sleep on this one. This is really cool. Where do you select the model?
The model was selected in the creation of the chat, where it had config provider OpenAI model GPT 4.1 Nano.
Okay, all right. And then is it the server instantiation that always use that model, or is it something else? So
it's stored on disk, so it's written to the files that are part of the chat ID.
Right. So long as you go through that chat ID, it's always going to use that model.
But you can change it. Like you can edit it and alter it as you go along. But the chat ID represents a folder name on disk, and one of the files stored in there is the config, which holds the.
Right. Okay. All right.
And each. Sorry.
In that config, you could presumably have fired up 3 different models to do, find the burger.
Well, at the moment, you would have had to pick one, because you can't. Whenever you make a call, it has to choose only one thing. But what I really wanted to show you here was sort of subtle. The subtleness is that we have one AI in this chat that has made an MCP tool call to cause another AI call to be made, and then the results are come back. And so using this AI in this browser page, we could have made 3 independent chats and called them in parallel.
Yes.
And they could have had different models and different results and all that. So it's quite subtle, but this is the start of what you've been kind of screaming out for, which is the ability to have one model drive another model and then loop back retrospectively, edit the config, improve the prompt, move it, increment it towards a goal, and then decide that it's improved it enough and then submit it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you're asking for, right?
Yeah. It's there's not that many models, but it's searching through the kind of vector space of models based on the outputs and the reasonable, what you expect from those outputs in order to get to final resolution.
Yeah, like you could be like simply like, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's some examples. I want you to loop through all these models and see which one gives the best answer, which one shows the most promise, and then, iterate on them, try and make some tests. Off you go.
Yeah.
And I think I've got a sort of a milestone function for me, which is based on what Marla said, which is I didn't like that. And so when I indicate that I didn't like a chat, it'll be like, it'll fire up a new chat about the chat, and it would be like, it would have a guess why, or I could tell it why, and then it would go and alter the system prompt and or the model until a better response came back, and then it would replay the chat for me. And so I can sit there having a chat and I'm go, that sucks because blah blah blah, it's too long, and then it'll kick off the background process that whirs away, and then you'll see your chat improve right in front of you because it reran the previous iteration to get the new healed message, and you're like, oh yeah, thanks buddy.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Like, I don't want a thumbs down. Like, who the fuck cares about a thumbs down? I don't want to, did you like this response or not? Go fuck yourself. Don't get in my way with two different options. Like, I want one option until I tell you otherwise. And when I tell you, fix it immediately. Don't fucking, like, where did my thumbs down go? Like, can I give you some more thumbs down? Like, how about the thumbs down that I don't know what happened to my thumbs down? Where's that button?
Yeah. Brilliant. And this is working.
I just showed you. This is it.
I know. I'm just like taking a moment.
Okay.
I'm having a moment.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we don't have a moment, so let's just keep going. Anyway, sorry. You sound like you're going to have some questions. This sounds like
no. I sounded distracted there because I got an incoming text saying she's leaving. But I think if you can give me 2 seconds, I'll text her saying I'm busy.
Okay, or you can take your time and go and be a human, and I'll meet you back here.
Okay.
Right.
I'll attempt to be a human. I'll see you. I'll keep this live. All right.
Go.
Okay,
Yo.
back in the room. Thanks for that.
No worries. Alright, so, you were going to say some things.
They were just generally saying that's very cool. So,
Alright, cool. So, I'll try and go through how I'm handling all the different requirements that we have. In a lot of ways, it feels easier to do things using MCP because it certainly makes a big separation between really just APIs and writing code or front-end code or interactive code. And it's quite a stark sort of it's kind of a quite a brutal razor, but it's really nice because it's like discoverable APIs and dynamically changeable APIs. Like I can ask it to change the tools that are available to me, and it will switch them in and out on the fly. So it's an interesting way to do things, but it sure is healthy, I think. And so my work has been largely reconciling with the principles of Artifact to make sure things fit and how I had got to change this and change that, or some piece in Artifact that I'd done slightly wrong that the MCP model highlights. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I can't do that or shouldn't do that or whatever. But overall, it's looking amazing. I think one of my wishes is that as soon as we come up with some sort of a reasoning workbench that helps me lay out all the features of Artifact and the concerns that we have, because there's so many and it's quite hard to go through them all and then like design a change and then check did it meet all the requirements and then go back and then check some other stuff and then come back. But if I had it laid out in a map or a tree that described, repeatability, blockchainness, dynamic APIs, like it had a well curated list of things that it had to do so that I could check each design off against this big list of features. But more importantly, I could get bots to help me, but even more importantly, we could go around and compare other systems with this sort of, it'd be like a way to classify the animals of the ecosystem, where you're like, this lineage is the blockchain lineage, this lineage is the centralized database lineage. Like you could almost form a taxonomy of information systems or distributed information systems, and the ills and benefits of all the different features that they have and don't have. Simple tests like right amplification factor, durability, broadcast latency, like how long until the whole network is in agreement from any given change. Some simple metrics like performance under net split. There's a lot of ways that you can classify these things in pure terms. Like I noticed that classifying consensus algorithms, where you can classify them based on like number of steps it takes to reach consensus or number of messages required to deal with a Byzantine fault. And so those numbers are not, they're almost pure math numbers, like they're ratios, where you're like, this algorithm has this type of ratio in this area, but this other the trade-off was this other ratio in this other area. And you typically don't see, unless you change the paradigm, you typically don't see those numbers, like the top algorithms all roughly balance out and trade off different features, right? And so I just feel like there's a way to, just like the animals are classified, there's a way to classify all the blockchaining features, which have become basically all of the information processing system features, and I've never seen a taxonomy like that. I see little bits of people trying to classify little parts here and there, but there is, I think, an overall one.
That's an interesting one. And to be overall, would have to branch out of consensus, because maybe a consensus algorithm is your database says it's okay.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's the full spectrum of permissible things. And so if we can get agents to sort of realize what the principle is that we're trying to do, like classification of systems, then I'm sure with a few 100,000 loops, it could come up with a pretty well reasoned set of breaks or compartments or category species.
Is there any value in looking at dynamic choice of consensus?
I think that there's value in it for the purpose of the bot being able to change it, but the nature of consensus itself is that you should not switch the consensus algorithm too often relative to the number of transactions that it processes. So the consensus algorithm should be selected based on the infrastructure, the network configuration, the performance, and the job at hand. And you should only switch it when those things change.
Okay, but that can be botted.
Absolutely.
But
The bots should sit there in consensus and look at the changing environment and be like, who's up for a consensus change? And they're all like, yep, me. Okay, done. New consensus algorithm can switch over to something that's more suited.
And joining back between the different consensus algorithms.
What
would be a thing? So, say if I, in this particular thread, I didn't really care about consensus. All I cared about was I could recreate and do all those good things with an algorithm, even just my localized database.
Yep.
And the result would then be input into something a bit more robust, because then I'm talking to others.
Sure. Well, yep.
Bit like chain joining, but it's not chain joining, is it? It's something else. But okay, yeah. There's something there.
So anyway, I don't think I'm going to get that in time to help me finish this particular round of work, but I think that I should build that as soon as I can, because the next time we want to add a feature in or change something, I don't want to spend the time and the effort, because it's pretty painful.
No, that's fair enough, and we'll learn a lot from using it as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the workbench. Where does the discovery go?
What?
So we've got a whole bunch of artifacts, NCP endpoints, and I start with what? How do I bootstrap up to say that, I need a pull push merge commit?
How do you select these functions?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm planning to do is make it so that you make your MCP server, oh god, not like that, sorry, I grabbed the wrong example. I might have actually stored it even. Yep, so you would end up with a URL that looks like this, except that instead of package, it's going to be macap, and then over here, Macap, and then Macap. So here, what that's saying is that I want to create an MCP server that's loaded with the tools from this NAP, or this MCAP, and at this version, and this MCAP. And then what I'll get back is, when I load that in the inspector, I'll get back the tools that are represented by those MCAPs.
Right. And from anything you do from that point is going to be exposed based on the tools that are already being pre-discovered.
Yeah. So what that means is that people can connect to our platform where they've configured something of their own concoction, which should have been created by bots too, but it gets exposed in this fairly freeform way. We can allow a service where you can get a short DNS name that represents all of that config. It's up to you.
Sure.
But then at that point, you now have a dedicated web connection to that MCP server running those things.
Right. And the MCP server that you actually deal with in terms of your thread?
So the model I've chosen is that each connection, whereby something like this is one connection. If I open a new tab, I would have two connections. Each connection to the server creates on the server a dedicated, very lightweight but dedicated MCP server, as opposed to making it an MCP server that many different clients can connect to at the same time. I've decided that the best way is to make it one server per client connection. And the reason is that the usage model that I think is the best one is that, so you're going to get these, I'm going to strip all this down, but it turns out these are tools that go to Artifact, or can also be used to go to other NAPs and different repos and all that. So those are like Artifact level stuff. But there's another class of tools that's maybe like 5 different tools that need to be in there that are intercepted by the server, and they would be tools like load Macap, unload Macap, navigate. So like, why I want to make it one server is that if you make the server navigable, so you can be like, okay, now I want to navigate to a different repo, and it's like, okay, and then you're like, now I want to navigate to a different branch, okay. I want to write some files, but I'm not ready to commit yet, okay. That's all held in the server state. So the server represents this transient or session-based ephemeral store of where you've navigated to across the Artifact chainscape.
Yeah.
And what tools you have loaded, and to allow you to manipulate what tools are loaded and find new tools.
And then for persistence, presumably you need to stick it somewhere.
Stick what somewhere?
Well, say if you've done useful work and you want to,
like writing a file?
So you don't want it just in session. You want it to persist.
Yeah, so you would write your files. They would go from the browser to the server-side transient instance of the MCP server. And then when you're ready, you would go branch, write commit. This would create a new commit with message and optional tree upserve, blah, blah, blah. and returns the new commit scope. So when you've loaded up all your files into the server and you're ready to go, then you go commit, and then that makes a new commit in that branch, and that's that. It's persisted, it's stored.
Right, and you you can use obviously you can use LLM to do that commit.
It's
for
supposed
example.
to. Yeah, it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Like you can use that pattern to make facade tools or wrapping tools. Like I could make a tool that exposed things like write file, but what it did under the hood was it wrote the file to the MCP server and then did a commit straight away, because maybe the LLM is a bit too stupid, or maybe the use case doesn't warrant having that staging area where you can modify multiple files and before you commit them, perhaps.
Okay.
So the reason why there's that staging area is that oftentimes the LLM needs to modify multiple files at once to get its job done, and it needs to modify some files whilst reading from the contents of modified files. And so that's why the staging area is there, so that you can do a bunch of changes together, and then when you're all done, you go commit. One of the nuances I was about to introduce is that if you try and navigate away from that particular branch and you've got dirty files, like you've made changes, it'll error when you go to navigate away. It's like, hey, you haven't committed these files. That's almost certainly not what you want to do.
Gonna be lost like tears in the wind. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so, but like the downside of that is that if the server crashes during that time, then you will lose those temporary files. I think that's perfectly fine, because
I'm not fussed with that.
yeah, if you're worried about it, then
it's a rare event. It's a rare event.
yeah, and it's more likely that the network will be disconnected, and so you can rejoin, and your session will be available for you to reconnect for a little while, so you can resume. But it's feasible that you might not be able to get your session back for whatever reason. The LLMs, when they see these chats, they're able to interpret these messages and sort of figure out, oh, I've been disconnected, oh, I've been reset, oh, I need to redo all these tools. Like that's what I've been experiencing with Sonnet 4 today, is that it recognized, obviously because I had a lot of connection problems because I was experimenting with stuff and there's the stuff crashing and all that, it remembered what it had done from the chat history and was able to infer that it needed to replay those actions to build up the server state.
And it did that from what I presumed was the end state. It's like,
yeah, because what happened was the tool call came out with an error, and then I was like, I changed it, and I was like, okay, go again, and it was like, I better make this first tool call again first, and then I'll make this second one.
Oh, that's cool.
So they're getting pretty good like that, but that's really the design that I've settled on after a hell of a lot of wrangling around, which I would dearly love to be able to capture in a bot somehow, because the wrangling hurts me personally because it takes so long and it's quite frantic, and it's like, like browsing loads of stuff and trying different things and then navigating code and then doing this. Like, it's a painful process, and at worst, I can't tell you how long it's going to be. I just know that I'm getting closer or further, but I'm like, man, it's just, it feels repetitive. I've done it, God knows, I don't know, 15, 16 times now, but I'm like, it feels like there's a pattern in there that I can, like, because I know what will happen. I'll figure out how to make the general sort of tool that helps me, and it'll turn out that it was the last time anyway, and I won't need a tool.
You capture enough information to stick it back through into the bot itself, because it should be able to look at.
No, it's too. So the issue with reprogramming or redesigning, re-architecting like this is that I don't know enough about it to give the bot facts. So I just have to give it all I've got is my ideas and tests and thoughts. And
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, even as a really scrappy first version, should
right.
be able to draw some inference from that.
Yeah, but then the issue is that it's a. I'll stop being negative in a sec because you just helped me see another solution. But the issue is actually that it's a problem of information processing for me. So if I gave that all to the bot, yeah, it would be able to come back with something because it always does. That's like its curse.
Mm.
Um, but I would have to read through it a lot and think about it more, and that's still just burden on me. It's a different kind of burden now. It's not like a burden that I created where I had an idea and had to go and test it out. It's now this bot's got some brand new ideas about shit I never heard about that might be nothing. And so it's really a balance between of where I spend my effort.
Mhm.
I know that I'm not trying to purposely sound difficult, but I'm like that kind of work has some difficulties in automating it because the issue is the bandwidth of the human, and the bot's just making more bandwidth, so consuming more
Um,
bandwidth.
yeah, I get that. I
Mm.
guess the possibility I'm raising is humans can be parallelized as well. When
I don't
listen to that.
believe that this kind of work parallelizes well at all, but I might be wrong. But what I'm not wrong about is that I don't think I could work with another human on this thing because I would find it hard to work with them. So that's like, I guess that's a quirk of mine, but that's
You'd never have to know they existed though, because it's the bot that's dealing with point to
right. So
point.
well, listen. Why don't I try and put forward a solution, and
Uh-huh.
then maybe we can expand our horizon here. So, if I was doing all of my theorizing in the same channel, because the issue is I spread between little notes that I take here, where I think about,
Mhm.
um, where I think about what's just sprung to mind, and then I sort of go away and walk around a bit, or go. I think about what this means and what that means, but then there's also like a range of how where are we? Sorry, I lost my tabs. A range of like GPT queries that are going on,
Oh yeah,
and it's sort of
that gets
like they're
messy real
related,
quick. But
but
it
they're
gets
not.
messy.
But
Yeah.
if I was doing all of the research calls, the checking, the ideation, the note taking, and the coding all in the same platform, and I had a bot watching me do it, and that system was trying to learn silently how I went about it, and it could replay that multiple times of how the search progressed, then I think we've got a chance of the bots helping us come up with a system or with some ideas that could provide help for the next time. Because one of the key benefits that design would give us is that the next time is going to be running the same search space. And so, whilst you may not be able to make a general tool that can work for every time, there are some tools like what I just described that can help you with your special search space next time. Because next time I'm like, oh no, redesign time. And it's like looking at what I did last time and being like, well, last time he did this and he did that. Oh, here's this. I've reduced the design of the system down to these blocks. Which block are you in? Oh, yep. And like it can. It's not that you can make a program to help. It's that you can configure the bots to just know what you did last time and use that effectively. Does that sound
It does. Now this is definitely not now stuff I'm about to talk about, but um, it's bringing knowledge base from its training, and it's bringing its knowledge base from what you've done in terms
Yeah,
of ideation and getting towards a goal, and then a commit is an important marker. It's like,
yeah,
oh, I was happy with that.
yeah,
Now, if you had two people who didn't know about each other working on the same system, you'd have the same thing. You'd have the external knowledge from the training of the models and what that person did in order to solve that. Both of those are knowable to a bot. Now,
yeah,
slow time, it seems like there's some cross pollination possible there.
yeah, yeah. Like it should be able to find places where we overlap. I mean, that's, I guess, the social aspect of AI that we're so hungry for. Yeah,
It's an overlapping of approach. So if two people are working on the same problem in isolation, and they are approaching it the same way, then that reinforces that same way. If they are doing it differently, and one person gets it to the answer they commit with fewer steps, then that is also another signal.
yep. Right, and so like
That feels like a stretch, as in we're probably not, we're probably a few
well,
years
that's
away
pretty
from that.
important because I tell you, this problem I'm describing is the reason for all the delays that I have ever caused for this project. Is
So
that
yeah, and
problem?
to boil it down, I mean, maybe someone is struggling on something you'd found trivial, and finding trivial something you're struggling with.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think that's the utility here. Like, that's just general things should be looking for those overlaps all the time anyway. But it's more like a way to make a real sloppy program where there is no program for doing it absolutely, but based on my last 3 times that I re-architected, it can definitely help me by running ahead with what might happen. And so, like, the idea that's in this vein, that I was thinking about today was power autocomplete.
Like an idea autocomplete.
Well, no, more than that. So the current autocompletes are you're typing and then something sort of pops out to say what I was going to say next. Sometimes it gets it right and I'm like, yep. If it's cursor, I'm like tab, 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 whatever. But what I really want is I want to be typing an idea and then it kicks off a whole lot of background processes that change
Right.
a whole lot of shit, like a whole heap of shit, in different parallel branches where it's safe to just experiment with, and it's whirring away, and it might be able to do all the work that I was just hinting at with my
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah. In a shitty way, that's kind of where I was getting at. Because it'd be drawing on if this problem that you're trying to solve is similar to another problem that someone else has solved. The way you've solved it, if it's known to a background bot that just churns away and can say, "Hey, dude, you're going down a rabbit hole here. This is never going to work. Have you thought about this?"
Yeah, right. Like, and so an example with the MCP thing is this thing should be trying to do implementations of MCP servers that do the things that I'm checking about, and it can be like, whoa, hey, that's a dead end, because here's the snippet of code that kills that whole idea flat.
Yeah, and that background bot is searching the idea space based on the intent in order to find out shortest path and no dead ends.
Right. And so it would also be trying to surface up requirements in a clean sort of almost one-liner catchy phrase type of block.
Yeah, because
Because
intent is the hardest.
well, because when I'm doing it, I'm say I'm fuzzing around here, the requirements are up here, no one's written them yet, and I kind of have them in sight and in mind, but I don't have them concisely and neatly written down. Then there's the checking of the implementation and all that down here. And so if the bot was trying to help with like it's like, oh, that means that this is a requirement, that's a requirement, or when it learns something from its tests, it's like, oh no, that's a gotcha,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
right. Because there's a lot of inferred data here that the bot can get its teeth into. The very fact
yeah.
that you didn't commit and then you had to reprompt.
And then it could even ask me like quick little questions like, hey, quick question, have you thought about using this
Yeah.
other system? And I'm like, you better have thought about that to bother me with it. What do you got? And it's like, well, in the research I was doing, this is what I think your requirements were, 1 through 10 with some nesting and all that. And it's like, this other system ticks off 7 of these. Over here, you've got yourself a whole 2 out of 10. So,
Right, right. And then what you're doing as the the human user, you're steering your help. And it's like, hey, that sounds like a good
yeah,
approach.
yeah. Like, I'm almost like, I'm fuzzing around. It's trying to imply requirements, and then I go up and I affirm requirements. I'm like, yep, perfect. Nope, yep. Like at a high level, I can steer where it's going to navigate, or I can cut whole branches off the search space by just saying no to that one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And now, in a really clunky and monkey way, I did that with the translation thing, where I got it to consider what I wanted it to do based on it was just a few transcriptions
Right.
and some notes and
Yeah, that's really what I
iterate
want.
around.
I'm like, tell me what I'm looking for. Like,
Yeah,
I'm poking. I don't know the names. I don't know all the search space. You see what I'm
exactly. And
doing.
it came up with what I found, and this was what model was it? This was GTP5. It came up with something I'd never heard of called BERT, which is a
Oh, yeah.
vector space for. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Yeah, I have
I'd
heard of
never
Bert.
heard of it. Um, for semantic closeness of different translations, so that you could run these
Yep.
different translations through and say, well, hey, consensus in this case, not consensus blockchain wise, but consensus with running multiple models.
Mm,
Let's start eliminating the guys who are way outside that, and then get closer and closer for a confidence level.
right.
I'd never heard of that, but I spent, I don't know, it wasn't long. It's like half a day, um, getting it to iterate back on what my intent was, because
Mm.
to start with, I knew what I wanted, but not how to say it.
So really, that's the tool you're talking about is the intentifier, where
The
it's
intentifier.
guessing,
Yeah, yeah,
it's guessing, 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 and it's always trying to turn your intent into something neat, concise. It's trying to solve a puzzle
I,
because
yeah,
like it doesn't know what your things are, and it shouldn't waste your time if it's unsure. But it just sort of can lay out a list of like, I'm very sure he means this, might mean this. These are some other things he might have meant. And then it can go off and research them for you so that by the time you get it, several million tokens are burned and you're like, that's pretty good.
yeah. And what it came up with was, interesting enough, almost entirely maths based. Which
Yeah.
again, it's like, hey, give me a prompt for that. It's like,
Right,
there you go.
right. So that's how it should actually. It should feel like, I don't know if you've ever had it where you find a white paper or something that describes exactly the problem you're trying to deal with, and then you're like, oh my god, here it
Yeah,
is, right? And
yeah,
it should feel like that all the time, right?
yeah.
The oh my god, it found it.
Yeah, and I literally started off with saying I want to translate this block of text to that block of text, and my problem is this. So you state the problem, and just
Right,
churned round
right.
and round and
So
round.
that's the intentifier is watching whatever you're doing throughout the day. It knows that you may be dealing with several separate projects, and so it can account for that. But it's always trying to clarify what your intent is to you even, and then it's
Yeah,
guessing at what it could do to help narrow things down for you, and guessing at what your next intent is going to be that you'd probably have that intent once you got a little way down the road, but you're not there yet.
yeah. There's something else here actually thinking about it. if there are, let's say there are half a dozen me's trying to do this problem of translation, um, and we're all going down this same intent thing, and there in all those half dozen, there's no solution. That is a very strong signal for a stuck.
Right, right. And then you can end up with the hole is very well defined because you've sort of poked all around it and you're like, well, there's actually, it's like stud finding. You're like, that is empty wall, that whole
Yeah,
thing. I know that
yeah,
there's nothing, so that would be great to fix.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Lots of people tried to do this problem, and they all got stuck on this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all the intents lined up, so they're all trying to do the same thing, and this
right.
thing couldn't be
Yeah,
done.
so that's probably more what the Dreamcatch is about, really, because it's like, where are these communal stucks? Where's everyone getting stuck?
Communal stucks, yeah,
And it's in a way that it's even hard. You don't even know that it's a stuck really until you start really driving at it, and then you're like, "Oh, right, I see now." But if you've started poking at it, and then your bot goes and finds communal stucks all around, it's like, "Whoa, warning, big,
lots of
huge hole here."
lots of people trying to do the same
Yeah,
thing,
and then
and
it
none of
sort
them have
of
succeeded.
it
Yeah,
immediately gets you to the flame front. It's like, this is why, this is how, this is where they're at, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll leave that one. Or one day late at night, you're like, I wonder if blah 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 blah, and then you can nail it for like all these other people.
and the definitions thing, the intent thing, getting a well-formed intent is really hard. I find maybe it's just me. Really hard for a human to actually define their intent
That's
very
humans all around.
specifically.
That's humans all
Yeah,
around because especially when you're in knowledge work and particularly in on the bleeding edge, you are looking for things that go beyond your current knowledge on purpose. That's what you're trying to
right.
do. And that's why you run out of words and you're going on like a mixture of instinct, fuzzy glimpses, ideas, things like that. And so,
Right.
that's value
Which
in my
which
mind.
which brings us back to that edge of chaos thing I occasionally come back to, where models are largely backward looking. It's been trained on this, and by this is happened before. The interaction with human, or in this case, multiple humans trying to do something quite similar, that's forward looking.
Mm,
And there's a
mm,
black hole here. There's a gaping black hole
mm. Right.
that nobody's been able to solve.
Yep.
But now you've got the kind of iteration on well defining what that black
Yeah,
hole
but
is.
also like once those things get solved, once you find yourself in the neighborhood of a solved communal stack, you can race through it. You're like, oh, yep, yep, cool, got it, and you can just
It's it's
cut
like
straight
a
through.
it's like a key log for knowledge, isn't it? When
Yes, yeah,
a dam is chalked up with logs,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's one key log.
Mm.
Remove that, and everything goes. Um, there's something valuable there. I'm not entirely sure whether it's within our reach.
I think
Uh,
it's more than within our reach. It's essential for us because I always imagine that we're going to use this tool as soon as it sort of half works, sputtering purple smoke and all sorts of stuff. We're going to use it to make a reasoning workbench that can enable us to reason through our own work, which is sort of the the hail the hallelujah that I'm looking for because
yeah.
I'm like that's solves my labor problem. But um it now that you cause me to think about it in practical terms, there is no real knowledge workbench. I This is technically it, my computer with these tabs. And so if I had that being watched by an intentifier in the background, that's probably as good as it gets, and that could well be sufficient.
Yes.
Like there's probably not an actual I think I was thinking about a workbench from decades of conditioning to think in the old app terms, but an app that holds an intelligence within it doesn't need to have these predefined, like an app's a machine, but an intelligence is not a machine. An intelligence is probabilistic. And so I don't really need to have a fixed fucking thing, which is even better for us because it means that people can go about their daily lives using jitters and using the platform and talking to people and all that. And whatever they allow the bots to see can be used to try and work out what was their intent and then give it back to them in a format that they can digest, you know, because that's the other problem. If something came to me and told me what I'd been seeking all my life, but it was in some like fucking weird table format, I'm like, what is that? Like,
Right. How
well,
do you
they sent
assess
it to me in XML, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about XML. Um, so, you know, getting it back to you in a form that you recognize means that we can write applications in this way that are fuzzy in, fuzzy out. They don't have a fixed application box like we're used to. They're sitting there humming and hawing in the background, and then they're fishing around the artificial intelligence space, and then they're like, ta-da, this thing. And you're like,
100%, and that is the, well, as you know, that is the paradigm shift that we're going through at the moment, from
yeah.
deterministic to probabilistic.
Yeah, but I think the key is to abandon the notion of a rigid, fixed, defined app or interface. The greater utility comes from the things watching everything and inferring over the whole context that I have.
Right. Spot on. Absolutely spot on. And it's those long-running, grinding tasks that comes
Long,
back,
deep
you know,
context.
2-3 months, 2-3 years, you know, 2-3 lifetimes, who cares?
Yeah,
Comes
right?
back and saying, you know, this really hard problem nobody could solve? Here's an approach. And
Yeah,
I'm not really sure about it, but have a go. Have a go.
yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
Okay. May I move on?
Yeah. Yeah. Feels quite profound, and I don't know. It feels out out of immediate scope, but
No, it's right in there. Because the way that we built the system is that self-aware principle where any bot can see the totality, or at least
right.
can crawl it. And we've suffered hard for that, man. Like, to be able to have the bot control the bot, including the infrastructure that it's on, and to be able to discover its own limitations and configurations. Like, we worked hard to make that. And I'm not sure you could do those tools that we just discussed without that fullness of awareness.
No, it's entirely. I don't like the word meta, but that kind of meta awareness of taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and going, man, you know, this is never going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So that's probably an area that our system by design can excel at, when all other systems will trip over for all the reasons that sunk us so many times. You know, like
yeah.
these self-aware systems, or reflective systems, self-reflective systems are bloody hard. And you can easily overload your context by like getting into the infinite mirror situation where you're like, and you're like, oh no, there goes the million tokens.
I mean, I don't know what your stack of concepts are at any one time, but I'm probably about 6 or 7. Above that, start to kind of lose it and need to go back into, you know, deep memory. But if you had something churning over and reminding you, then suddenly it comes back and it's like, oh yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
yeah.
yeah. So where we get to then, the system design that that I've settled on, that I have confidence in, is that this page, for example,
Mm-hmm.
will be in the background. It would have loaded an MCP server, and when I like click on it, or when I type something, or when I hit enter, that's an MCP call that the button I'm clicking is making. So it's turning my UI interactions into tool calls that could have been done by an LLM.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, the server is stateful, and I feel like that's essential because of this issue where the LLM can't handle having all the tools available to it all at once. And so it needs to provision itself in some cases to add an extra tool, remove some tools. Like it needs to be able to modify itself and navigate itself.
And how about completion? What are the guarantees for completion? So, say if some of these tools are not available, and you want to, let's say, do a commit.
Right.
What are the
If
guarantees on commit?
if the commit tool wasn't available to you, then you can't commit. And so the way that I was going to manage permissions of any given MCP server is you permission it by what tools you give it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I deny it the search for MCAPs and the load MCAPs function, then it can't change what it's got.
Mm-hmm.
But similarly, I could say, okay, you don't need branches, you don't need fibers. All you need is the tree set.
No, I was thinking more of transient drops if it reaches out to another NCP server that happened to be not available.
There's no
But was
such thing.
permissioned.
There's no such thing in Artifact, because when you connect to the MCP server, Artifact checks to make sure that the repo is alive and you got permissions, and the naps that you're asking for are downloadable, and from that point on, it's all immutable, like it's all fixed. So you can't. If I tell you that you got something, you definitely have it, and you continue to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Okay.
can be denied it in the future. Like if the repo is deleted while you were connected to it, then that's like the server's just like, wah, wah, sorry, dude, you're gone.
I'm curious. Say in a war zone where you've got power and connectivity,
Mm.
you're trying to connect to an NCP in another node like you, but they don't have power. But 2 hours later, they will get power back. How's that?
So that kind of issue is where you have
1 second. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, so these are I love these questions because what I've done in the last few weeks is gone through all these kinds of questions, and I've found answers for them and made design choices in what I'm presenting you based on these things. And that's why, like, when I present the design, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, that sounds good. But actually there was like all these other ways that it could have gone and all these other requirements, right? And that's what I really want a system to extract out from what I do, so that I don't have to go through it all the time. But I'm feeling very confident that I've covered all the avenues that I can think about to the point where I could answer any question about it. So that's what I'd like to make a system to do to take off my hands. To answer your question, what you're getting muddled about slightly there is using the conventional web to connect to MCP servers as opposed to blockchained MCP servers. So an easy way to think about it is that the well, let me just check I got the right idea first. Like in blockchain land, you should have your repo replicated in multiple locations, which means that an MCP server that is interacting with that repo has these failovers. And
Mhm.
then in the case of where you've got one blockchain, which let's say it's got 4 nodes, interacting with another, let's say it's got 4 nodes, this MCP server is trying to do something with the MCP server that's represented or is hosted by this blockchain. Any one of the nodes on any side could go down at any point, but the MCP interaction will persist. We'll keep going. We'll continue.
I don't think I understand that.
Okay, so in a conventional world, the conventional world that we are raging against, and we're gonna get there one day. If your web connection to the server goes down, that's probably the end. However, in modern systems, overcomplicated as they are, you can have things like serverless functions or redundant servers or something else, and you'll switch over and you'll start dealing with that one.
Delivery and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a case that the MCP server in that model is still it's really only ever being run in one place. And when you fail over, you kind of break the connection and you got to start again. But in blockchain land, when you have repos that are running in lockstep between, say, 4 clusters, what's happening there is that the repo is being presented as a virtual repo. It's identically running and being tested for consensus across 4 nodes, and so when any one of them goes rogue or disappears, the entity you want, which is the repos, is still there, still available. And in the same way, we can emulate an MCP server so that it too is virtualized and it is running in lockstep, so that if any one of the 4 nodes that was running it dies, the consumers of that server or the sessions with that server would never know.
Yeah, I get that. I guess that wasn't the.
Are you talking about if all the servers running if all the computers running a particular MCP server go offline and then come back later, what happens there?
Yes, and do you ever lose a request from one NCP to another?
Nah, you don't. It just follows the standard blockchain rules, which is like, I made a request, it gets disseminated out to the other nodes that are also running my virtualized entity, be it a repo or an MCP server on top of that. It will keep trying to send out to anyone who matches the cryptographic signatures of the target I'm looking for, and it'll just stall until one of those pops up. When they pop up, then the message will go through, and then it'll get processed and whatever on that side, and then they may be offline again, and then a few days or years later, they pop back up, and then the reply comes back to the other side.
Right. Good.
So there's two things going on there. There's MCP the way it's implemented now, which is inherently tangled up with web semantics like timeouts and broken connections and all that. That's fine. The pure interface, when we translate that into our world, there's no such thing as a timeout unless your use case demands it. Like in blockchains, it's not. There's no timeout. It's forever. Who knows?
Right. So that and this has stuck with me. Years ago, your example about someone in autocratic society runs some kind of computation. In this case, MCP server pulls out
Yep.
USB. That USB goes through over rivers and over mountains, and
Yep.
3 months later gets plugged back in.
Yep.
So the guarantee that we're giving is eventually is going to come back in
Yep.
as a valid request.
Yep.
That is pretty cool, actually.
So, an easy way to explain it under the hood is that actually the MCP server technically is running on the client, but it's translating the client's activity into JSON actions that go out in Chainland, and they are the things that have that property of, traveled for months through the Urals with a USB stick to get the response back. But the server is there just to present the standard interface and to allow for state to be maintained, because the remote side doesn't need to know about the server state, like what the client chose to navigate the server path to, or what tools they wanted loaded, or anything like that. Like, the remote side doesn't need to care necessarily. So that's sort of it's a little bit of a sleight of hand, but it's one of the essential translation to have blockchain land and also be MCP compatible without losing that durability and that long-term recoverability.
I look forward to the time that we create another NCP LLM that says, "Where have you been? I haven't heard from you for 6 months." Right,
Yeah.
1 second. What are you saying? Right, okay, let me bring you up to speed.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll work. So that falls under the use case of chain-to-chain MCP communication.
Yeah.
So what I'm showing you here is browser to chain, but what you're talking about is chain to chain.
Yeah. Yep. Precisely. Again, not on the main branch of the stuff we need to get done, but I'm just trying to poke a stick.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's perfectly fine. Like that was not the first solution that I came up with. So, I've been around the bush a lot to make sure that we are compatible and we still have our durability.
Yeah, I remember that use case. I remember precisely where we said it. I'll not say on the recording, but
Yeah.
it must have been about 6-7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I know. And, that's a doable thing, and no one's really doing it. We have it in hand, I think. Now, the other aspect where MCP comes in super handy is in frames. And so...
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I was going to do frames now is, like, recall when I was like, oh, I think I did the frames interface wrong. I made this custom protocol. Really, it should have just been a Mac app.
Yeah. Remember that?
So what it should have been actually was not a Mac app, but a MCP server connection. And so the way I think about it now is the parent fires up an MCP server that it grants the frame access to. It's like this one and only one MCP server, and it is configured to restrict what the client can do on it by means of, what functions are available, what repos can it get to, what files, blah, blah, anything you like. But that's the standard way of doing it. And so the frame fires up and its client connects to the MCP server, and that's how it's connected to the whole blockchain space, because it's just running as though it had a full MCP server.
Hey, yeah.
And so it can do everything it needs to do depending on what permissions it was granted. But more importantly, on the flip side, the frame internally presents an MCP server back. And so the host page fires up a client and connects up with the frame's internal MCP server, where it can then do... So I made a list of standard UI options. This is like fucking my chat history. Chat history is quickly becoming the new Browser
Well,
history.
oh, here you go. This is one of the problems we need to solve. I get this every bloody day.
Yep. I think it was.
This should not be a cognitive load. You should be saying, "That's what I'm looking for."
Well, it
in all
should have
my
fucking
chats.
come up just while I was talking, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then I hate this idea of search as well. Giving a list of search results is not even close to being good enough.
I know. Anyway, fuck it. But anyway, there's actually, I think, an opportunity to make a very simple way of representing the state of a UI in MCP form without requiring each frame to develop its own custom tools. So it'd be something similar to like what you see in these browser automation frameworks, like find button by name or find something something something. But it can be even simpler for LLMs, where it's just like the state can be given back as like basically JSON that just describes a set of boxes that represents areas in the UI, and then you can do simple stuff like select, or and you can use that select to drill down to get back these text-based representations of what the frame is showing. And so it holds geometry information, but it also gives you back, you can drill into it. And so the drill is like you would see it being selected. So you can call select and it will select that box. And then in the UI, it will show up as that area being selected. And then it's basically a way to make a stripped down, very simple text-based version of a UI so that you can have bots drive around or at least know what's happening in it. And so by the client presenting this MCP server with these standardized tools plus whatever extras it wants to add, and you better just hope that the caller knows how to handle them, but YOLO, then you can start, I as the human click around and I'm creating tool calls effectively within the UI, but my bots or my helpers can do the same and can drive the interface with just tool calls, and then the whole thing works pretty nicely, I think.
That begs another question, which
Uh-oh.
is, and this is probably to do with my ignorance. So the idea of using frames is that you could make them as isolates that do not, mess with you other than what they're doing internally. Is there a similar pattern for MCPs? I mean, how do you know is a trusted MCP?
You don't. The same web rules apply, like HTTPS.
Right. So there's no isolation.
Well, the isolation is conventional isolation, like between the server. Are you talking about in our system, or are you talking about in MCPs in general?
MCP in general.
MCP in general doesn't specify how you would isolate the execution environments or the data retention of the servers that it was running on. That's left up to your best practice to guard that in the way that the web typically guards that.
There seems to be a better solution out there, which is well beyond me, but in the same way as you've isolated the use of frames at the presentation layer, isolating the use of MCPs seems to be a similar problem.
You say the usage or the running?
The running.
The running
instances.
That's us, dude. That's what Artifact does.
So an NCP can be a completely malign NCP, and it's never going to fuck you up.
Yeah, because we part of Artifact's core requirements is to run untrusted code in the context of a repo. without having the box go boom.
Right.
That's the same quality I think you're talking about,
It is.
right?
It is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how we offer the ability to take an MCP server and have it be running untrusted code and be isolated, safe.
And there's nothing that NCP could ever hope to do. It can't break out.
Can't break the sandbox, we hope.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There may be weirdness, but standfast weirdness. There's nothing in the structure that would allow it to break out.
Yeah, if the design, yeah, correct.
And I'm just wondering whether there's a semantic way of doing a similar thing.
Like having a semantic firewall for the actions and the information that's passing between them to make sure that no one leaked anything important or did anything dumb.
Sort of.
Absolutely, I think that's just an MCP server configured as a proxy, where it just mirrors exactly what the other MCP server does, but along the way it's got a little sanity checker that's like making tiny little LLM calls to make sure it still makes sense.
Right. And in a fumbled way, that's what I was reaching for. An NCP proxy is a great way of putting it.
The firewall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to ask another NCP server.
Yeah, I'm going to intercept here. This is the moderation. This is your mother speaking. Do not make that call. Do not transfer the money. The Nigerian prince is false.
Yeah, exactly. No matter, whether it makes sense in the overall thread, if it doesn't make sense in the individual NCP result, ignore it.
Yeah.
Try again
So,
or do someone else.
What I think we actually have in hand here, or coming up with Artifact, is first of all, there's a way to make these universal packages, the McApps, which are ways of packaging up MCP functionality so that it can be run, here, there, and everywhere, portably. But then additionally, the MCP servers themselves, because they're running on repos, we actually have in hand a way that you can package an MCP server, like the repo with its naps, and make that portable, sort of like a...
Right, and then you've got the data provenance thing, which is so highly sought.
Right, but yeah, right. So you can distribute these MCP servers, so it's not just a McApp, it's like some state as well.
Yep.
And you're like, here's the whole thing. You can fork them, you can move them around, you can lockstep them, you can do all these things. And so that's why it's a pretty neat little format, I think. It's like you can actually move the running MCP server in flight to some other hardware.
Yeah, and if you really want to, if you're under attack, bring all your NCP servers inside of the wall.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Or if there's a storm coming, vacate the data center.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then we get back to the Dark Edge on perhaps running some of these unitary nuggets of, LLM-ness, MCPs on people's phones.
Yeah.
You got charged?
Yeah. So it seems very obvious that it's going to be phones are going to be able to run LLMs, and the hardware is just going to get better and better, plus all the benefits that the AI brings us in the manufacturing process. So probably Kenya is going to be able to stand up a chip fab sometime soon just because of what the bots can give. And then it's all on then. But basically full portability, ultra low power, very high bandwidth. And then it comes down to, well, what tricks can you do? Like, I need you to behave like a virus. Be impossible to kill. Do not go offline. All those kinds of things. So, I don't know.
Server you can't turn off.
Yeah, hopefully a bot doesn't come along and design a better system than what we've spent ages designing for us. But
yeah, but that's
I sort of feel like I think it would struggle in AI because it's like Anyway, who
I
knows? We're gonna find out.
it would need that edge of chaos with a human interacting, and
Yeah,
we the fact that we've done it means others could do it.
correct. But I also wonder if like we can stand up a system because it's funny. Like we got this Dark Age thing, but actually, like we got all this like knowledge based stuff that even if we just did a SaaS app with that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
that's useful too.
yeah,
And it's almost like we want to use the system to immediately redesign or make the next iteration of our current system. And that's probably, like this system will be the crappiest it ever is. And then the bots will take over designing the next
right.
versions upon versions and all that. So I guess the race, the gamble, the win is to be the first to use the bots to make the tool. And if we can get there where we've got the bots automatically curating, building, and iterating the Dreamcatcher, that's when we are most definitely away.
Yes, and the interesting thing is we are talking about resilience of those LLM MCP packets
Yeah,
at the knowledge level and at the hardware level.
correct.
I
Yeah,
don't see anyone else doing that.
yeah,
Um,
that wasn't quite what I was getting at. I was just getting at given enough time, the LLMs will do everything that is currently undone. And so the race is for us to be first to use it to self improve because that is the fastest rate of innovation possible for the Dreamcatcher is when the LLMs are doing the innovation.
yeah, I sort of agree with that. I do think that that edge of chaos thing, the chaos is the human bringing
Oh
AI
no,
stuff into it.
okay. Well, I think again we have a misalignment on
Hmm.
this issue. The There could be other people that make a Dreamcatcher, sure.
Yep.
The rate of innovation of the Dreamcatcher is maximal when the maximum number of people are using the maximum number of bots
Yes.
on it.
Uh-huh.
And
Brilliant.
so there's a dead zone where we're running manually, like you and I are manually
Ah,
making
I
the
see what you're saying.
Dreamcatcher. But as
Yeah.
soon as we can turn it on to the point where the bots are assisting in a very strong way, then what'll happen is our rate of improvement will outpace anyone who's not doing that. And
Right.
so for if we
Exactly.
can get
Yeah.
there, there's a theory that goes that well the short form of the theory is a little slope goes a long way, which is to say that a system at a certain point that doesn't change, even a system with a very tiny amount of improvement rate will always do better. So the lesson of the parable is to start small and shitty, but make sure you can improve, and that'll do better than coming out good, strong, and finished if you've got improvement in there.
I see what you're saying. And yes, I absolutely agree. And also, interesting enough, we've got improvement on improvement.
That's the thing, right? And so if we can get improvement squared, the integral of improvement, then, sorry, if we have a very high derivative of improvement, then like that's the thing that we got to get to because that's kind of in my mind I'm like fuck everything, just get to the point where the bots can help improve the system. And at that point, even if it's like 6 months, the place that we'll be after that will be vastly superior to anywhere else. If we got delayed by 3 months, that's 3 months that the bots could have been like driving us to like insane quality.
Right. And we're already seeing that in the real world with the tier one guys um, using their own system to improve their own system.
Yeah, but they're still not quite. It's not general. Like what we're talking about is open ended and general. They're trying to do a specific thing.
Yeah, and they keep on enclosing it, and I don't know enough about their world. I would never say I would.
Mm.
But um, it doesn't seem that they're going full, red-blooded health leather improvement over improvement. And it's probably to do with all sorts of things I've never
There's
heard
probably
of.
a lot of reasons, but it's
Yeah,
just they haven't seemed to figure out how to properly turn the machine in on itself so that it's live updating and
yeah, but the lucky part that we find ourselves in, being tier two, is that kind of doesn't matter because even if those guys end up linear, um, then we still improve.
yeah, totally. Totally. So
Um,
that's all that I'm sort of desperately trying to claw at is that if we can just get enough of a system up, and I really did feel it today when we had that with that demo I showed you, like sure
yeah.
it'd be like command line, but the fact that it can be an LLM doing what your command line would do, it's sort of more powerful than having the graphics and the fancy and the this and that.
Oh,
It's
by
like,
far, by far.
because you're like, yeah, the bot can read it all.
Right,
So
and we know it's a trivial flop to, let's get a nice button.
yeah, in fact,
Um,
the bots are doing great at that. So, what I really want to painfully reiterate for us to do, and my repetition is not at all having to go at you, it's more having to go at this is one of those fleeting things that's hard to grasp, and we should both grab it tightly and not let it go.
mm,
Is that the faster we can get to self improvement or AI powered improvement, that's the point at which that's like our mini singularity. Like we can't really know what happens then because that would easily be a 10x improvement for us and feasibly 100x given a few cycles
I
at that
I
rate.
couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree
Yeah,
more.
and so that's where I'm sort of trying to focus all my energy is like just get that system up. It can be shitty, it can be this and that, like that's the start line.
Yeah, and anything that distracts from that is bad.
Yeah, and I also don't, not that I've been doing searches or looking, but I don't see any other companies trying to make a self improving kind of a product. Like they're not.
No,
Um,
I have been doing the searches and the kind of situation awareness thing, and I don't see anyone at tier two doing it. I see at tier one, but they're limited inside of, hey, let's, you know, let's get more uh, consumer level users, and so we're going to
mm,
reduce the number of models and all this kind of good stuff. And it's like maybe that's the right idea, maybe that's the wrong idea, but I don't see it being automated about what the right idea is next. Don't see
right,
any of that. It might be happening. Who knows?
right.
Tier one might be doing it. Tier two, I see very few tier twos. Full stop.
Well,
Um,
ChatGPT is sort of starting to touch on tier two, and um, there are a couple of tier twos around. Like I think Lovable.
yeah, there. I think there's probably about a dozen out there,
Yeah,
but I don't see any of them organize themselves around improving themselves.
right. Maybe they did internally, but it's just like I guess they're not trying to invite people to help build them at all levels. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know what to
yeah,
say, but either way, I guess the summary is that it looks like no one's really winning at that space. We have been chasing that space for years now, and I feel like just this thing today, I know it's got some rough edges, but it started to feel like there's something intrinsic about it, like the fact that it was the full power of an application platform in the hands of an LLM.
yeah.
That's what it started to feel like.
No, I get that, and I know this is the point where I flop to just basically rubbing your shoulders and watching.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So look, I'm real sorry. I don't know how much longer, but I mean, like, I am able to show you progress. It is looking pretty good. I got a short list of to dos here. that are the things that I know what to do. I was sort of thinking what you'd like best. But yeah, there's some heavy re-architecting I have to do, but I'm very confident in the ease of it thanks to GPT-5. Like, I haven't even used Codex. I've just been using GPT-5. It will try hard. Like, it tries really
It's
hard.
good, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I might turn off my Pro for OpenAI and move to Cursor because Cursor has a Pro plan as well now. It's called, unsurprisingly, Ultra, which is
Same amount.
yeah,
$100. Yeah.
I know, right? But
And
20
that's not by accident. Yeah.
nah, 20 times the usage. So that would be good. Anyway, what I got with this list, I realized there was some errors in how I was passing actions around internally for permissions, so I'll sort that all out. It's really just minor shit, honestly. Like I've figured it out enough to know that I can make a very light set of changes to Artifact where I haven't compromised any of the functionality potential of the MCP implementation for the sake of being lazy. Like, it's a light cut because it aligns with the principles well, not because I was trying to make it light to save time. Like that.
Right.
That was the error I was fighting against. It's tempting to want to just do it a cheap one, but that always sucks. So this is a well-aligned, principled alignment, and it's a pretty light set of changes. And I'm loving it, honestly. I'm absolutely loving it. And so I'll work through these changes. Looking at this list, I would say that that's like another 3 days worth now that I have the design in hand. Making a UI that presents chats might be a little bit longer, but it'll be just a command line thing for the start.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Which you've never complained about one bit. And then I'll leave frames till another day because we don't actually need frames just now.
Yeah, correct. We don't. Others may, but a command line version would be amazingly powerful.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that in terms of progress, this update today from this side seems like one of the biggest leaps that we've had between, our calls.
All right. Oh, that's good. It was like that because the thing that pains me is I have to do all this shit in my head. So for like the last 2 weeks, I'm like, well, there's no point making code if it's not going to work out in the end. So now I'm like holding all this like stuff in my head, and I'm like working towards it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's where we go. Okay, bang, and then that's why I'm able to make changes pretty fast. But yeah, I was happy. I know it's busted, but I was pleased to be able to show you that it's a bot calling another bot.
Yeah.
In full control of it. Like, it could easily alter the config of that bot to make it behave differently.
Yeah.
So I think once I have this MCP framework up and a crappy UI, there's nothing left undone. Like, we're there.
We're at the launch pad.
Yeah, and then at that point, it's like, well, fuck, I really don't know what comes next. Yeah, we need billing, sure. Let's figure that out. But what do you think would come after that?
Use is the unknown unknowns at that point. All the stuff in the hopper I can easily see using what you've described here, and promises, is going to be there.
Right.
And everything.
It also gives us a good saleable thing. Like, you can make an MCP server for someone, have it hosted, and then you're like, here you go, like here's your thing. You
Right.
can deliver on it. You can,
Yeah.
and then we can add bits that let you escrow funds and all that to get things built. But ultimately, the hosting platform is there that you can just, without any fuss, you're like, here it is. And you can connect it up to Claude and some versions of, if you go to any other MCP capable AI provider, you can hook up to what we made you.
Yeah. 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 So
Okay.
I just straight agree.
Okay.
Be
So I'll
quietly.
move on. I sent you this link, which is actually my go-to link for pricing and stuff now. It's got a great little API, but it basically lists every model that's even worth mentioning, along with things like its core features, its token counts, its pricing, its cached pricing. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
this is
Good.
fun. A lot of providers in there that I didn't know about, but
It feels like a CFO at NCP is there saying, "You're trying to do this.
right,
I'm going to let you go there."
I know, right? So there's that, and then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about
Mhm.
was a little bit on the edge, but
Yeah. We were talking about the other day. Yeah.
currency-less trading. So what it turns out, um, is that there's a bunch of papers that have been made that cover this sort of thing. So we were like the outer, right? So people have done a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of study on the outer
Oh,
type of
okay.
thing. They didn't call it that, but it worked out to be the equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the first thing that we should make is the searcher. um, so there's some papers here, right? A case for a
Okay.
currency-less economy based on bartering of smart contracts, where they kind of do a bunch of math that works out, uh, what it's how these systems can function, and they're not really dealing with AI being in there making a lot of the changes. But I just
Yeah.
wonder if we couldn't extract some of their concepts and slot in what they were doing, um, to make an outer based system that works, right? Like they, because I think what happened was a bit of a problem for us, right? Like we've got the ambient attribution agent, which is all good for money and software, but then we were
Mm-hmm.
like, that's kind of just an edge case. Like that's just a particular niche.
Mm-hmm. The thing with barter is the negotiation is 1-to-1, whereas commerce is
No,
offer something
I,
up.
I, I disagree, but only because AI models just came on the scene. What you should be
Mm.
bartering with is the AI, and the AI will barter with
What
everyone else,
what
and it
what
will hold debts, and it will
yeah.
do divisions and fractionalizing. It will do
Uh,
all that.
yes, no, that's exactly what I'm meaning. But
Oh, okay.
if I had a pig and I wanted to trade it for 2 sheep, in barter, I would have to go and find someone with 2 sheep and saying, "Hey, you want a pig? I want your 2 sheep." And then it's like, "Yep, I'm happy with that." But if I wanted to put my pig up for offer for anyone, um, and get some kind of fair exchange, maybe one sheep and three chickens. And it's like, is that fair? And that's where the elder comes in. It's like, yeah, that's all right. So barter, the problem with barter is the indivisibility of it,
Mm.
and the fact that it's 1-to-1.
Yeah, I know all those things, and I'm not. It's just that you could think of money as just another element that I'm bartering for, and so I could live my life with the machine helping me do barter for money and other things as they present, but it's still just like it should treat money as nothing different than just other stuff that can be traded. Like it's not.
That's true. That's true. And the elder, in the case of, say, currency exchange, is the market. The market is effectively an intelligence that decides what's fair.
Yeah, but it's broken. Like it doesn't work out fair. But
No, it can be gamed. But it's fair insofar as everyone has agreed, hey, we're going to go to the markets for currency exchange, and it's like, well, we've seen it. Like, that's a terrible exchange rate. Do I accept it? And that sort of thing. Having an elder overlooking it has a wider scope to consider whether it's fair or not, I guess.
that's acting more as an advisor rather than an operator.
Well, the advisor role could be given the permissions to trigger it, but I'm uncertain about what was just said there. But it
Right.
feels like something like that, doesn't it?
Right. So all I was really trying to get at is that there's a range of papers here that are sort of, they feel like no one's really hit our problem, because I think we were actually looking at a very narrow form of a more general problem, which is the problem of barter. And so there's a lot of writings and papers that have been studied, pretty heavily, and a lot of good maths in there, that I think we could use this reasoning workbench that we're talking about as a way to design a system where we could insert our technologies and these new capabilities into a system that could operate better in environments that really need it, like refugee camps being an easy one. Like the current system kind of works well enough, no one wants to replace it. But if you rolled out to Kenya or somewhere else where you're like, we can do AI barter, what do you reckon? You got more chance of an uptake. So yeah, I was just trying to say that there's all these actual things out there. There's some fascinating stuff around that we can draw on and possibly use some of these graphs and mathematics to explain how the Dreamcatcher agent, ambient attribution agent, works, because I think we still have to pursue this narrow band use case that we have in mind, just because we know how to do it. We think it's very useful. We need it for our software. But this math can help us explain why it works, because it's actually a subset of a more general problem.
And importantly, how it converges to fair.
Yeah, and the concept of fair, the mathematical balance of fair, and different kinds of key components in the system, like the upgrading or the altering agent. Like, how do you change what's fair over time? Who has a say in it? How is that gathered? And so these start to become standard interfaces to an attribution algorithm, where we can say that there are many attribution algorithms, but we know that they all must have this standard thing, like what I was trying to show you with the consensus algorithm workbench, where you can standard implement all these different consensus algorithms using a standard API. So too can you do it with attribution.
Yes, I'm just reading this paper. I think this is a good find.
Yeah, right.
The difference between intangible goods and tangible goods.
Yeah, tangible and
It's
some of
like,
these are the issues that we wrestle with, right? Like
right,
services versus assets versus technology versus project management versus marketing versus gossip versus introductions, all those things.
exactly.
The barter people are busy wrangling with that. And
Ah,
so that's the body of knowledge that we can tap into.
brilliant.
Um, there's also like barter machine, I think, which is a whole designed
Always
blockchain that
distributed barter exchange on the. Okay, all right.
yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here. But I also got it to do for me a SEC risk
Oh
model
yeah.
for
Okay.
different types of things. And
Hey,
it
one
seems
we
to
got one
think,
green.
well, pure barter is no problem, it seems. But as soon as you start trying to do um, utility credits or like people in control or some
Yeah.
kind of usage, right? Like that's when it gets real nasty. Like the red lights start flashing, I guess, right? Pretty
Yeah.
much everything goes off red. So,
That's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder if there's what the commonalities of the fundamentals, and see if. Oh, that's really interesting. Actually, I might look at that. So, if pure barter, of course, is you engaged in the sale, you're not looking for anything in the future that's based on other people's work. You're just looking to swap a pig with two sheep.
yeah, yeah. And so, if you had a decentralized AI that's holding the debts, then that
Mm-hmm.
might be a bit different because it's like, well, I'll give you this IOU that I minted for this pig.
I wonder what the um, the rules would be around, say, if I wrapped my pig in an MCP and got it to barter itself.
Yeah, transferred ownership to this autonomous thing, and then it just went out to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. That's pretty cool. So all I was trying to say was that I think that we've been in a narrow world, you and me, and we're gonna solve our narrow world, but there's a broader. These are our people out here.
It's good that someone else is bothering.
Yeah, these are our people, and this is why we don't see any sign of it because we're looking too narrowly. But yeah, there's maths out there that can be used broadly.
That's brilliant.
Mm.
And also, we can stick it inside of um, an LLM
Yeah,
because there must be. It seems a tractable problem.
it's very tractable. It will even our crappy effort will be better than the current situation, and it will improve by this. I guess really the thing we're trying to extract is the self-improvement properties, the automated improvement properties. And so we could launch a crappy barter system that had self-improvement incentives, and then we're like, well, it's gonna it's gonna sort of figure itself out.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing with self improvement. All you need to do is to get a wrapper that can be improved. That
Mm.
is that is the unit.
Right, so the last thing I got to present is the notion of being able to. I showed you that URL, right? Which was like here, but
Yeah.
it could also be done to represent or point at an npm package on npm. So it's not in the micap format. And then what we can do is we can run an LLM to build or shim the micap interface in front of the npm package.
Okay.
And sure, there'll be some times when that's not straightforward, and I'm pretty sure that the bots, with a little bit of help from some humans, could generate that. But it would mean that we were able to make MCP servers out of existing software that you can just call on, and now the bots can call these tools that are in this MCP format, and it gets added to an expanding library, so no one has to do the build next time. It's just right there, ready to go.
Mhm.
So that sounded pretty easy and pretty fun.
That
And
sounds
then
pretty cool as well.
yeah, and then we suddenly like haul in like huge chunks of the npm library and even do it on the fly. Like these things are searching for MCPs to solve a problem, and then they're like, "Oh, we don't have one. Oh, I got this npm package. Oh, I know a converter service. Call the converter service. Converter service ticks away for like 30 seconds, builds you the MCP service around the npm package, and now you've got this thing."
That would be quite cool.
And I think it works for Python as well. Docker containers can be treated that way. Rust crates, kind of everything. So everything we talked about Naps being able to facade in front of, it's the same.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not particularly unique about Naps. I mean, you could actually make the Naps as npm packages.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway, that's me, buddy. That's all I got.
That was quite a lot of payload. That's
Things
good
are
one.
looking good, man.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, good. What day are we on? We're on Wednesday, so it's Friday next.
Yeah.
I've got a couple juicy things. Is there any updates to the portal coming, or is it still stable-ish? Because I continue to want to use it.
You can use it. What's the question? I haven't. I looked into getting GPT-5 in there. It's doable, but it's probably another couple of hours. I just want to get this thing up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. I can use 5 offline from the portal. Easy enough.
Yeah, I think this is the path, right? Like this is the thing to get up and running, and then it's like
yeah.
you can do anything you want in here. It's really just a case of like
Okay,
yeah, we can do all the things for real if we have this even simple version up, I think.
Yeah, good. So what I'm doing at the moment is, so the translation thing is done. We've got the OSINT thing coming up. Being asked to, quite an interesting one, given a bunch of company accounts, spot the fraud or incompetence.
Okay, we're still recording. Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm not going to mention any names.
Okay.
But it's the kind of red flagging any kind of weirdness from the set of company accounts.
Yeah. So if I can get this thing up, then you can start sharing with me the efforts that you've done during a day. Plus, I can give you tools that say something like, okay, here's a page of accounts that's got like 20,000 lines. I need you to make a tool that makes 20,000 LLM calls with this prompt. And then, processing questions like that, where you can very quickly whip up very large numbers of processing.
But even, with lots of dangling wires yet to be wired up, the portal is incredibly useful. I'm finding 5 really quite powerful as well.
Yeah, I love 5. It's all I use now. So you want me to get 5 in the portal? Was that the basis of the request?
No, don't be derailed. Keep doing what you're doing. This is more important.
All right.
Because I have an offline pipeline to use 5. It just takes a bit more wrangling.
Did you have the portal set up to help that did something nice?
Yes. Especially the switching of the models was very nice. That was very nice.
Because there's an intermediary stage that we can go in where we just hook up. So Hold on a second. I haven't actually tried this out yet, so this will be fun. I love a good live demo. So we're logged in, we go in here. Default assistant plugin settings. The Meow server has one tool. Okay, so we turn that off, turn it back on. Oh, it stays. It stays locked. Okay, we'll make a new one called Artifact, and we'll say that it goes there, and we're going to give it an API key of that. Oh yeah, I forgot. I actually set this up because I was like, Scott would love this, and then I forgot to tell you. Okay, so that's all the tools of Artifact loaded in the portal. Cool. Install the plugin. Go back to the assistant. Hit up Grokky. Select the plugin. And then, yeah, then we're like, Super LS.
I quite like the flexing going on there.
Grokky? Hello?
Something. What's it doing in the background?
Oh no, this is not good.
What?
Oh no. Provider busier. Oh, that means we ran out of money. Whoopsie.
Oh.
My bad. OpenAI, you're up.
Next.
Super LS. You don't need to browse. Don't even think about it. Ta-da.
Oh, found it.
Yeah, okay, so
hey.
that's...
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
All the tool calls in the platform. Hey.
That is super neat. That is brilliant.
So then, okay, so what do you got? So the tool name, obviously, and then the response that came back. So I find that super useful to be able to see.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so, okay, so maybe it's worth setting up the platform then, because then I can give you, because the thing that's going to take the time is this front end bit, like making this bit, because that's the first thing that hooks in to the tools, and you know, the platform we've got here has got all these niceties like token counts and credits and stuff like that, and that'll all take a little while to sort of put into this new MCP only format. So maybe it's better to just roll with what we got already, but hook up the MCP server, and then all you've lost is the self-awareness. Like, it can't talk about itself, it doesn't know about its own interface, but everything else kind of works, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, how much overhead is that adding that you wouldn't have to otherwise do?
Maybe at 1 to 2 hours tops.
Okay.
But it saves a lot of overhead because it can get you working in the MCP format with a lot of nice little things without waiting anymore. So that's a win, right?
That would be a win. That'd be awesome.
All right, so get the platform switched to GPT-5, and then I'll keep doing is fixing up these or expanding on these what the MCP tools are and what they do, because they're currently misaligned with what the LLM needs. So I need to shape them a little bit, and then, it won't take long, like maybe half a day or so, but I'll basically be shifting the tool call interface to be perfectly suited to an LLM calling it, whereas before it was not made for that. It was actually made for humans to call, but this is way better. This is like a bajillion times better. And so I'll shift that around, and then it'll be available in the platform, and then you should be able to experiment pretty hard, man, with what I give you there, because you can you can try the things you want to do, you can tell me about it, and I can try and figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And really, you shouldn't need any UI or much UI. You're just
No, well, as you know, I'm not a fan of UI. Ideally, I'd like to just be able to talk to the thing.
Yeah, well, that's this, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a good compromise. A good look at me getting mature and old in my worn out old age, being willing to bend to the will of the customers.
I'm not saying that I talk for plurality of humanity, but I'd find it useful.
You would. I would too, probably. And there is something nice about having a working system that any old person can come in and poke at. So that's always a bit of a booster. But yeah, that's okay. I forgot that I sorted that out. I was like, oh yeah, I dicked around with that for ages, and then that's part of the solution. So
all right, cool. All right.
Sweet.
Right, I'm going to go now.
All right.
And so Friday,
mate.
Friday.
All right.
Same rules are, I think, entirely your discretion. So I'll be.
No, I need it.
All right, cool.
I need it.
Right, it's locked in. I just don't want to deflect you from,
No, you don't.
for the finishing line.
No, it's still good. It's still very hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the more major leaps today.
Cool, man. Self-awareness, here we come.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you Friday.
Keep going. KBO.
Thanks.
KBO.
Thanks, bud.
See you later.
See ya.